Let's be real. Our digital world is getting more complex by the second. And that complexity, it brings one of the biggest headaches in modern tech, managing a total explosion of digital secrets. So today, we're going to dive into OpenBao, a tool that's all about bringing some serious order to that chaos.
All right, so here's what we've got on tap. First, we'll dig into what we mean by the modern secrets problem. Then we'll introduce OpenBao and how it's designed to fix it. We'll get into its core features, talk about why its community-led approach is so important, and finally, show you how to get involved. Sound good? Let's do it.
So to really get why a tool like OpenBao even exists, we've got to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of the problem we're all up against in digital security today. No, really, just think about it for a sec. A single app, it's got to talk to a database, maybe a payment API, some cloud storage, and who knows how many other internal services. Every single one of those connections needs a credential, a secret. Now multiply that by all the apps your company runs. Yeah, that number gets huge fast. And all of that massive, uncontrolled explosion of secrets, it's got a name: identity sprawl. It's this tangled web of who and what can access what. It's a total management nightmare and, honestly, a massive security risk. I mean, how on earth are you supposed to track all that and make sure nothing has more permissions than it absolutely needs? And that right there, that is the exact problem OpenBall was built to fix. It's basically designed to be that central, super trusted vault, the one place you go to wrangle that sprawl and lock down all your important data. Okay, so what is it exactly? Well, OpenBao is an open source tool, and it was forked, which just means it's a new community-driven version based on a really well-known project called Vault. It's now managed by the Linux Foundation, and its whole job, its reason for being, is to act as this super secure digital safe for all your secrets. And this quote, man, it just perfectly nails the project's core philosophy. This isn't about some single company controlling a critical piece of your security. It's all about building trust through open source and transparent, community-led development. That's not just some technical detail. It's a huge statement about trust in a world where security is everything. All right, so we get what it is and why it's here. But how does it actually work? You know, what's under the hood? Let's break down its key features. First up, and this one tackles that sprawl problem head-on, is something called identity-based access. Instead of trying to juggle credentials for a dozen different systems, OpenBall focuses on the identity itself. So what's really cool is how it pulls this off. OpenBao can actually merge identities from all sorts of places, like your company's Active Directory, your Kubernetes cluster, or even your cloud provider. Then it uses a single, unified set of rules to decide who or what gets access to which secret. That is how you bring sanity back to identity sprawl. Okay, next up is the most basic job of any digital vault, right? Making absolutely certain that the stuff you put inside is actually safe from anyone who shouldn't see it. And OpenBao's approach here is honestly super robust. It encrypts everything before it ever even touches a disk. And that's huge. Think about what that means. Even if an attacker somehow gets direct access to the server's hard drive, all they're going to find is encrypted gibberish. Those secrets are totally useless without the master key. Now this is where things get really, really clever. And honestly, it's a total game changer in how we think about security. Instead of having long-lived passwords just sitting around waiting to be leaked, OpenBao can create secrets on the fly, only when they're needed. So picture this. Your app needs to talk to a database. Instead of having a password stored somewhere, it just asks OpenBao. OpenBao then creates a brand new, totally unique username and password that's only good for, let's say, 15 minutes. Once that time is up, poof, that credential is automatically destroyed. The window of opportunity for an attacker just shrank from potentially years down to a few minutes. But wait, there's more. OpenVault doesn't just store secrets, it can actually be an active partner in your whole security setup. It can work as what we call encryption as a service. So what this means for developers is they don't have to reinvent the wheel with complex encryption every single time for every app. They can just hand off data to OpenBao's API and say, hey, encrypt this for me. And that right there is a huge deal because it makes your security consistent and centralized instead of a messy patchwork of different solutions. This really gets at the dynamic, temporary nature of everything inside OpenBao. Every single secret has a life cycle. First, it's leased for a specific amount of time. If you still need it, that lease can be renewed. But if not, or when the job's done, bam, it is automatically and completely revoked. This idea that everything has a short, finite life is a core part of modern security.
So the features we just talked about are incredibly powerful, but they're really only half the story. The philosophy behind OpenBao is just as critical, especially when you're talking about a foundational security tool.
See, the project's real strength, and maybe more importantly, its trustworthiness, it all comes from its community-first foundation. The fact that it's managed by the Linux Foundation means it's committed to transparency and open governance, which are things you definitely want when you're trusting a tool with your company's crown jewels.
What a model like this does is make sure the project is driven by what its users actually need, not by a single company's profits. It creates a space where security issues can be discussed openly and fixed by everyone, together. It really boils down to a simple idea. When it comes to security, having more eyes on the code makes for safer code. Okay, so after all that, you might be thinking, hey, this sounds pretty important. How can I get involved or help out?
Well, the answer you'll get from the community is super simple. Contribute. And, that doesn't just mean you have to be a hardcore coder. It can mean reporting bugs you find, helping improve the documentation, answering questions for new users, just being part of the conversation. It's a great way to make a real impact. Which kind of leaves us with one last big picture question to chew on. When you look at projects like OpenBao, where transparency and community are baked into the very core of a security tool, you have to wonder, are we seeing a future where open source isn't just an option, but maybe the essential foundation for building a truly secure digital world? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.